Hello, listeners. Today I'm talking with Josh Piepmeier, a prominent SEO expert and the founder of Meriwether, a successful SEO agency. Josh's journey from engineering to becoming an SEO specialist is both remarkable and educational. He combines his technical expertise with a passion for content marketing to help e-commerce brands achieve top rankings and significant revenue growth. In this episode, Josh unpacks the current trends in SEO, including Google's transition to an answers platform and what this means for businesses today. He shares his innovative approach to content marketing, emphasizing the importance of creating authority through valuable content and strategic collection pages. Josh also explores the critical connection between SEO and paid advertising, highlighting how brands can use SEO to capture the demand generated by their ads effectively. Join us as Josh offers practical advice on mastering SEO, leveraging topical authority, and integrating SEO with your broader marketing strategy to drive success. This episode is a must-listen for anyone looking to stay ahead in the ever-changing digital marketing landscape. Enjoy! Welcome to the Ecom Pulse, your heartbeat to the world of e-commerce. I'm your host, Eitan Kotter. Join us as we meet with industry leaders, marketing experts, and the innovative minds behind the tech that is shaping the e-commerce future. So plug in, gear up, and get ready for a pulse-pounding journey into the heart of e-commerce. Hey Josh, welcome. How are you today?
Doing well, Eitan. Nice to be on the show. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How is Long Island?
Long Island is great, man. We're starting to get some warm weather here, and the bugs are coming out a little bit, but enjoying it, getting out on some walks and everything. So yeah, loving it.
Nice. I guess that's the perfect place for having an SEO agency, right?
Well, yes and no. Like it is nice being on the East Coast in the US. We get some flexibility. We get to work with some international clients and clients on the West Coast. Cost of living here, man, I'll tell you what, Long Island is crazy. So
yeah. I'm based in Israel, and now I think the latest report is going to be probably the most expensive place in the world, I guess. Like
really?
Prices here are like increasing like crazy, and it's keep going up and up. It's like nonstop. Yeah. So we're in a good
you feel my pain.
In a good spot. Yes. I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about SEO, about marketing, what's working, about ads. I think very important subject and topics for our listeners. Marketing is so difficult. SEO is so difficult. Acquisition. A lot of things that are becoming probably different from what they used to be a few years ago. And I'd love to bring experts to bring their insight and unique perspectives on these topics. So maybe we can just start with a quick introduction about yourself. Share with us exactly who you are, your background, and what do you do?
Sure thing. So I'm Josh, and so I actually started my career out of engineering school, and I decided to go in a few different directions. I wanted to explore some different things. Decided engineering wasn't for me. You can get into the details of that if you want, but that's neither here nor there. Did some UX design. Actually was running some Facebook ads for some local businesses, and then at one point I wanted to move up to be near where my now wife is. And so I said, let me get a full-time job, move up there. And that was in SEO. And so through that process, I kind of fell in love with SEO. But that background of running Facebook ads, doing some more direct response type of marketing, gave me that insight into the pain points that a lot of brands, I think, feel around SEO, which is it takes longer to get going. It's harder to see the results. It's not as directly trackable and measurable. And so, in that SEO journey, I took that to heart. So I was really focused on how do we drive real business, drive real revenue, and things like that. And so that sort of informed my journey, right? And so then was at 9 to 5, always had a side hustle, eventually full time, eventually turned into an agency, and that kind of brings us to where we are today.
Nice. But I need to stop you here because you said something very, very interesting. You said you fell in love with SEO, right? Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, good. So let's stop here, and I need more information about that.
Yes. Okay. Well, so I think the thing that, I have a degree in mechanical engineering, right? But I have a minor in philosophy, right? And actually going into college, right, like a lot of the writing side of things was easier for me, right? And so I think SEO is really unique. It allows me to blend those two sides of my personality together, where it's very technical. You have to get into the technical weeds. Even the content side of things can be technical. Like we've had experiences where we change 3 words on a page, and all of a sudden it goes from position 7 to position 1, and the revenue doubles, right? And so like that little analytical puzzle, combined with sort of the writing, the creativity, all that kind of stuff, really is sort of the perfect fit for my skills, right? I also have the UX design background, so it was like uncanny. I wasn't really searching for it, but it turned out to be the perfect sort of platform or game for me to play.
Yes. Now that makes a lot of sense right now, because as a mechanical engineer, you know about engineering, like structured processes, right? And then the writing skills, right? Like the soft skills. And probably
100%.
this is who you are, right? That's your character. And then combining them, I fully understand why SEO is something that you love. So definitely it has a lot of technical aspects, right?
Yes.
And a lot of human intelligence of probably trying to figure out what people are thinking and searching and how these things are working. But interesting. I start also to feel that SEO is interesting. So thank you for these few minutes. I think it was really inspiring for us.
Excellent. Well, and I'm curious to learn more about your experience with SEO too and all that stuff. But
look, we are trying, everyone, we are trying, doing our best. But I think SEO probably is changing a lot, right? I mean,
definitely.
SEO used to be associated with keywords, but I know they are not that important today. Intent is probably more important. And you look at Google, right, transitioning from being a search platform to being like kind of an answers platform. What do you see is happening with SEO lately, and what do you think it's going?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I like that characterization of moving to an answers platform, right? Their mission, as Google's mission, has always been to organize the world's information or make it accessible. It's changed, gone through a few iterations. And so it seems like, especially with AI coming out, that becoming an answers platform is sort of the latest update to that. One thing I'll say, and I'm happy to get into the details of that, but I will say that I think actually e-commerce stores in general are poised to come out on top. Because if we sort of think about what are the keywords that an answer platform can easily take care of, right? What color is grass? Like, why is grass green? What are running shoes? Like, when was Hoka started? Like all of these sort of like basic information type things. It's destroying all of those. So those are no longer really sources of SEO traffic. It's also taking out even some of that middle of the funnel stuff around, hey, like, what kind of shoes do I need if I overpronate or something like that? You know what I mean? I think that will, especially in the next couple of years, be also sort of directly in platform answers. But at the end of the day, most people, when they get to a certain point in the buying journey, will need multiple options, or they'll need multiple answers, or they'll need multiple situations, right? And so if you go into a store, if you're thinking about like you're just walking down the street, you're walking down the street, you're in downtown, you're sort of going shopping, you look in a store and they only have one brand of shoes, or they only have one thing. Well, are you going to go in there? Only probably if you know you want that brand, right? You're going to go into the Nike store because you know you like Nike shoes, okay? But something like a Dick's Sporting Goods, when they have multiple options, you're going to go in there if you want to try on a bunch of different things at the end of the buying journey, because you need the different experiences of the shoe on your foot, right? And so in that buying experience, somebody's going to go to multiple stores, or they're going to go to one retailer that has multiple different products, and they're going to test them all out, right? Like my wife and I were just at the outlets. We went to Adidas and Nike and Under Armour, right? And so you go to all of them and you check them all out, right? And so e-commerce stores are going to win, because at the end of the journey, you can't just turn that into an answer of you need to buy this shoe. It's very subjective, right? So I went on a little bit of a tangent here into the e-commerce space because that's what I'm passionate about. Does that answer your question around like the answer platform?
Yes. And you said also the brands probably are in a good spot, right, within this transition. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah. So I think in the last 10, 15, 20 years, SEO has been dominated by a lot of sort of affiliates right? People with affiliate sites, content sites, things like that. They write best of list posts. And at the beginning, I think there was sort of this cycle, right? Where at the beginning, people were just sort of stuffing keywords on a page and selling things. And then they gradually got better. And you see some like really good media publications coming out of that. People like Wirecutter, really solid, right? Tom's Hardware, really solid, things like that. And then we started to see these super niche sites pop up, but it was all like AI generated or very low quality content, and people weren't actually reviewing things. They were just pulling in from Amazon and just sort of spitting things out. And all of those sites have been hit in the last year with updates just repeatedly, aggressively, just like chopped down at the knees. And Google's like, nope, we've had enough of this because we know that you're not providing good experiences. And now what you see instead are e-commerce stores, direct-to-consumer brands, right? People now, instead, when you search for something like best sneakers, you might actually see 2 or 3 stores pop up, whereas before it was just a bunch of list posts. And so you're seeing all of these stores coming to the search results and products and legitimate companies. And so I think that's going to continue.
Nice.
For sure.
Yeah. Yes. So this is very promising. I guess it's a great change, but I guess those companies need to create also solid, interesting, differentiated content, right? And
correct.
Right. So what are the trends in terms of writing? I mean, what's interesting for Google these days?
Well, and this is interesting because we're going to get into a controversial topic, okay? And so if you're a brand, now you can win. So Google can sort of see, essentially, and this is all theory. Google can see that your store is actually selling products. So they can see that you're on Shopify, that you have a checkout experience, right? And so they sort of favor these stores with checkout experiences. But sometimes they still want those best of style list posts, right? Where it's like best shoes, best sneakers for XYZ, and then they list 10 options. If you're a store and you write those posts, you can sort of meet in the middle, and Google loves that right now. So you are writing the post, you have to talk about competitors, and this is where things get weird. So you have to say, okay, top 10 shoes for this application, we think we're the best because of this reason. And then you sort of give a balanced perspective of who do you think else is doing well in the space, right? And so I think it's key to be really balanced about that. And so I want to just get ahead of the objections here because this is touchy, right? But me as a service provider, an SEO service provider, I'm happy to list some other SEO providers who I think do a really great job, right? And so can you list other people in your industry who you think are genuinely doing a good job and provide a genuine list of options to people, right? And if you create that content, especially that more content marketing side of SEO is super good for direct-to-consumer brands who don't have huge product catalogs, for smaller brands who don't necessarily have a huge catalog, anything like that. And so if you can create that kind of content that sort of replaces the affiliates, but also has an interactive shopping experience attached to it, then you can win. And our clients are doing that. My first sort of 7-figure SEO campaign, we took them from, maybe making 6 figures a year to they were doing $2 million a year just from SEO, like non-brand new revenue.
Wow.
It was just from content marketing. Their product pages weren't ranking for anything, right? And so this idea of, can you create content that actually meets the user where they are, the intent, like you were talking about, and then add the interactive shopping experience at the end, super powerful. And I think it's going to continue to work.
Interesting. I fully agree, right? I'm thinking right now about, latest searches I did, and I see a lot of this list, but they are not generated by the affiliates, they're generated by the brands themselves. Right?
Interesting.
Yes. I can remember a few of those examples. It looks strange for me, at the beginning. I said, okay, what's going on? I mean, hey, it's just this one of the brands is just writing the article and all the list, and he's like number 6 in the list, right? It's really interesting, but that's very, very smart, I guess, from an SEO perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Great tip, Josh. Thanks.
Well, and I think one other thing to keep in mind is I think it was Gary Halbert, direct response copywriter. I think it was him. Mm-hmm. He said he had a classroom full of students, and He said, okay, if you wanted to sell, let's just say hot dogs, something that's very commoditized, and you could only have one advantage, you can choose one advantage over all of your competitors, what would that advantage be? Mm-hmm. And all of his students were like, hey, we want to, have the best hot dogs, or we want to have the biggest sign, or we want to have the best ingredients. And Halbert responded, he said, actually, none of those all seem right at the surface, but you really only need one thing, and that's a starving crowd. Okay. And so like the point here is that you go where people are trying to buy your thing, right? Like the number one thing that you have to do above anything else is go to where people are trying to buy. And when they're searching for best this or best that, that's exactly the perfect purchase intent, where they're showing you, we want to buy this thing.
Yes. So, I'm like puzzled what Google really wants, because when you search today, like over the fold, it's like you get all the, Google shopping ads, and then you get all the sponsored, and then you have to, like scroll down a lot, right, to try and find and figure out where the real searches start, right? So what's going on? This is how it's going to be.
I think Google's a little confused about what they want right now, to be honest with you.
Look, Amazon at least are telling you this, it's blunt, right? If you bring traffic to us, your advertising CPCs are going down, right? I mean, cost of CPCs are going up, but we have ways to reduce it for you if you help us. I mean, it's very obvious. They tell it up front. Everyone knows it. But what's going on in Google, it's not clear.
I mean, I think they're panicking a little bit, like Perplexity. Okay. We got ChatGPT. Yeah. They're coming in. They're trying to steal some of Google's lunch. And this is the first time that Google's ever felt real competition in 20 years, right? Like, when was the last time Google really had competitors breathing down their neck?
Yeah.
So I think that they are scrambling to try and keep up and to try and figure out exactly what the balance is. And so I think that honestly, like very transparently, I think that they're still in a big transition phase. There's going to be some volatility. There's going to be some fluctuations, right? And so I think that they're testing out a lot of things. I will say that I think Kevin Indig is another guy who sort of brought up the idea that Google is trying to compete with Amazon, okay, with the shopping experience. Like, they're adding filters on the left-hand side of the page now. They have shopping sort of feeds. They're prioritizing Google Merchant Center, things like that. Yeah. And I would agree with that. I think that they are. And so I think that those shopping experiences where there's products at the top of the page are here to stay. And so I think Merchant Center will be more important moving forward. But you also will start to notice some trends where some of the products that are doing very well in those sections are also ranking well, either right below or for informational terms associated with their industry, right? So that's what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah. And also, people that are searching today, and we know that there's so much information out there that it's you do a lot before you engage with the brand, right? So, and you made a lot of decisions before you even approach the brand, and you do some research. And I don't know, you do the research in Google, probably you do it in TikTok, or YouTube is also part of Google. Maybe you go to Amazon. I mean, it seems like there are a lot of other communities or platforms that you can search that are not only Google, right? Today,
100%. Yeah.
The case.
Well, and exactly what you said. I think specifically there's a lot more online communities. So before, you'd ask neighbors for their reviews or ask people for recommendations, and maybe you would even trust reviews from people offline more, right? Like, you just go to your neighbor, right? Like, and just be like, oh, that lawnmower you're using looks cool. Like, how is it? And they'd say, oh, really good. And so you'd go to the Home Depot and you'd get one, right?
Yeah.
Now your neighbor says, oh, this lawnmower is great. And you're like, cool. I'm going to go see if the TikTokers agree with you. And then somebody on TikTok is using something else. And you're like, haha, I outsmarted my neighbor and I found something better, And so,
yeah. And I bought it on TikTok Shop, right?
Yeah. So, and free shipping. And then it shows up and it's going to fall apart in 2 seconds, And so I think there's more online communities that are affecting the experience, but they all often will come back to Google. And I think it's specifically for a certain kind of person who wants to do in-depth research and wants to do the research themselves and wants to form what they feel is an unbiased opinion. That kind of person is going to be on Google for a very, very long time.
Yes, I fully agree. And I know these leading creators on TikTok, for example, when they write the captions and all the text, they think about TikTok search for sure. But I think the primary intention is they want to be discovered in Google, right?
Yes.
And so this is one aspect. And you'll find a lot of TikTok search in Google. You'll find a lot of LinkedIn articles and posts in Google, right? So it's like there is a merge of things. Like Google is in the center, and it's still, I guess, dominant. And so when you start a project, when you work with customers, do you have this broader perspective, or are you just, thinking about SERP and conversion, or you see brands are asking about more holistic type of, exposure and awareness that they're looking for?
I mean, we certainly have a broader perspective and we have conversations about those outside experiences, but we really just focus our expertise on Google and then Google Merchant Center along with it.
Yes.
It's just like the depth of expertise that is required to keep up with Google's changes and do really, really well on a platform like that, especially in competitive industries. Like we have a couple of clients in CBD, we have some clients in some medical industries. Like those are very competitive industries. You kind of have to have a single focus, especially at an agency of our size, which is on the relatively small size. You got to be very laser focused on one thing if you're going to do it very, very well, right?
Exactly.
And so you have to have a very expert team. And so really we focus on SEO the vast majority of the time.
So let's talk about that. What's your secret sauce? What's your controversial SEO strategy? I mean, I know you have your own way of doing things. Let's talk about that.
Yes. Well, and so I think that secret sauce of the content marketing angle, creating content that maybe you would have seen affiliates make a while back is one part of it, especially for smaller catalog brands or even medium-sized catalog brands. Okay. We have now the crazy thing that we're finding is that the content can make collections and product pages rank as well. So for example, we had one client that was ranked sort of position 6 or 7. I'm not going to give away the client or the keyword, but for a very competitive keyword, the people in front of them were Macy's, Nordstrom, Tiffany, Amazon, and one other brand. And they were like, okay, we're done. Like, we're number 6 below all these people. Like, this is as good as it's going to get. Like, we're at the top of the mountain. Like, you guys do your thing. Just don't take away our number 6 ranking. Cool. We kind of were on board with that, honestly, for a long time. We were like, all right, we're going to do our content marketing thing. We're going to get you a bunch of new business in other ways. And what we realized is something weird happened. We created 2 articles in one specific week. And the week after, they started increasing in rankings for the short tail term that they were going after. So they started to slowly outrank Macy's. And then they were outranking Nordstrom's. And then they were outranking Tiffany. And then slowly they got to number 1. And you can see the inflection point right when we published 2 pieces of content. And those 2 pieces of content were, how much does this thing cost? And where do you buy this thing? And so we had very direct, specific answers to those 2 questions in different pages of the site. We didn't change the backlinks. We didn't change the on-page tactics or the meta title or the meta description or the schema or anything on the page that started to rank for this super competitive term. We just published those 2 pieces of content, and it had this overall effect where Google sort of unlocked that site as an authority and was like, oh, you guys really know what you're talking about. We're going to start to rank you higher. Now,
so that was, sorry to interrupt, it was like a product page and links where to buy it. That was the theme of these pages.
So it was like a collections page. So they had 25 or 50 products. I forget the exact amount. And so, standard Shopify /collections/ the product name, right? So it was one of those pages. So like a very purchase intent, high converting page.
Got it. And that page actually made a huge impact, right? Because 100%. It has like a direct information where to buy and like this listicle, right? 25 items or whatever in the list. And probably also competition to this company, right?
Yeah, well, so I want to clarify something here. The collections page, all it had was a list of products. It didn't have it wasn't a listicle. It was a standard collections page where you sort of see the image of the thing and then the price, and you can like click on it and go to the product page and buy it. It was just that. Then on a different page of the site, completely separate, we had where to buy it. And we had an article talking about here are all the different places where you can buy this thing. You can buy it brick and mortar shops. You can buy it on eBay. You can buy it online at a store like ours. And here are the pros and cons of all buying in all those different areas. And then we had yet a third page that was how much should this thing cost? How much should I be paying for it? So they were three separate pages that all together created an authority on the topic. Does that make sense?
Yes. So what is your explanation? You mentioned authority. It's a lot of information. What is your explanation for this success, your professional feedback?
Yeah. So in the SEO community, there's something known as topical authority. And that is essentially when you become a subject matter expert in a topic, right? So if you think about SEO, links, backlinks is a big part of it. I can get into the definition of that if you'd like. It's essentially a link. Well, really quickly, it's a link from another site to your site. It essentially is a vote of authority. So a site with a lot of backlinks is sort of like a celebrity. It's like, hey, you're a news anchor. You're somebody with a lot of social credibility. Somebody who has a lot of content is like a niche expert. So if you're thinking about Amazon, they're like a news anchor. They're like, hey, welcome to our show. I've interviewed 70 different experts on all the different kinds of products. So they know a little bit about a lot of things. Buying from my client because they have the content is like buying from your neighborhood barista or buying from like a coffee nerd. And they're like, oh, I can tell you like this has notes of cinnamon and you know what I mean? Like you're talking about like wine, for example, they're like there's gravel notes and leather. And you're like, what are you talking about? I don't want gravel in my wine. But people who are like very serious about it know. And so they have that depth of expertise, right? And so if you can turn your site into somebody with that depth of expertise, where you're seen as sort of a expert mom and pop shop, then you can win even over like a big news anchor.
So it's not. What about keywords and search item? It was obviously you use those, but it's not the main thing here, right?
No, not as much anymore. I think it's become popular to sort of say, oh, keywords aren't the thing anymore. I think they still kind of are. If we think about it in terms of, we can zoom out and think about it in terms of topics. So like, for example, best hiking boots for toddlers versus best toddler hiking boots. Those are two separate keywords. They're one topic. But there's a lot of gray areas around what keywords belong under one topic. So there's like questions of, okay, best hiking boots for 3-year-olds. Is that the same topic or is that a different topic to best hiking boots for toddlers? What do you think? It's hard to say, right?
Hard, yeah.
So then what about best hiking boots for toddlers who are 6? 6 is not really a toddler anymore, but you know what I mean? Like, what is the cutoff of a toddler? You know what I mean? Yeah. So then like there is sort of still this question of which keywords belong in which topics, right? And so there still is an element of keywords involved, but it's only in support of zooming out and figuring out what is the topic that we want to talk about or address.
Okay. So gaining authority through this probably collection of let's say pieces of content that you did, right?
Yes.
Collections, where to buy, and like it's like a bundle of things that makes a lot of impact, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What else? Anything else?
Well, I think just having one thing we haven't really talked about, and at trafficlighttracking.com, we'll have the link to that. That goes over sort of attribution, SEO attribution. That's a hot topic. A lot of people are looking into that. It has some very basic stuff that you can get into up to more advanced topics, right? So if you go and you opt in, you can get all that stuff in your email. Yes. I think having an understanding of if your SEO is driving net new customers, not just people who saw your ad and are now looking for, Tonka trucks, right? Or whatever, having an idea of how many net new customers you're getting from SEO and what your ROI looks like is very important as well. So the attribution reports, again, traffic light tracking, you can look that up as well.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go over that now too, but
yeah,
I could go off on a whole podcast.
I think I want to talk to you about, I think another important topic, because a lot of our listeners, obviously they're investing in, paid media and ads budgets, and there is a correlation between SEO and ads, right? And I know you're very
100%.
I know you talk a lot about this topic. So obviously CPC costs without SEO or with SEO are probably different. So give us more information about that.
100%. Well, one of the things that Google cares about is sort of brand clicks, right? And so there was actually a leak of some of the things like ranking factors.
I got this article yesterday, by the way. It's here open in front of me.
There you go. Okay, well, so one of the things that they talked about,
Google's massive search documentation leak, right?
Yes, the big leak. Exactly. They essentially confirmed somewhere in that document, and I can point out the details. I'll have to find them later, but they essentially confirmed that they care about click interactions on site. So if somebody is searching for your brand in association with a specific kind of product, so for example, Nike running shoes, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people are searching every month specifically for Nike running shoes. So now Google can look at that, and then when they search for it, they click on Nike site, they engage, etc. Google can see that, and now anytime they want to show running shoes, they're going to promote Nike because they know that it's relevant. And so if you're running paid ads, and this is a pattern we're seeing again and again, is that if you're running paid ads, you're essentially driving new demand, you're creating demand. Google will see that connection. And so if you're advertising for, my brand facial peels or whatever, and like people are looking for that, then they're going to show your brand for sort of just facial peels without your brand name attached to it. Okay. And so when you do paid ads, you're creating all of this demand. And then the question is, are you capturing it? Because one thing we're seeing is that, for example, in the mushroom coffee space, have you seen those ads recently?
No.
Okay. So mushroom coffee is this big thing now, like Rise,
okay.
and, mud water. If you look in Google Trends, you can see that the interest in mushroom coffee took off right when these guys started advertising around mushroom coffee. Okay. So now they're creating all that demand. But if you look at like the top three players, I think it's Everyday Dose, Rise, and Mudwater, only one of them shows up in search. So people are searching for these things because all that demand was generated. But if you're Mudwater and you're spending $1 million a month on ads, and then you're not doing SEO, you're driving all of that demand into someone else. And so now another product, another site. I've even had clients who run no ads, and they just sort of piggyback on an industry that's blowing up, cover the SEO side of things, and then build $1 million, $2 million, $3 million business on the back of it. I've seen it happen exactly that. So if you are running ads and you're spending $1 million a month on advertising and you're not doing SEO, you're pouring money into an empty bucket or into a leaky bucket. And then other people who are better at SEO are sort of just scooping up what's left at the bottom. And are they going to build the same size of brand? No, but they're going to crush it still. So if you're doing that, your customer acquisition costs are going up.
You're doing ads, you want to drive demand, but you need to make sure you also capture those leads,
exactly.
Right? And this is where SEO comes in.
Exactly.
I know a lot of brands are doing, they're spending a lot on Meta ads, Google ads, but they're not doing any SEO. So that's probably not optimized. Not the right approach, I guess.
No, and I get it to a certain scale, right? Like SEO takes a while. And so if you're still sort of scaling Facebook and you're like, oh, should we do that email thing? You know what I mean? Like maybe SEO isn't the right move yet. But a lot of the brands, they're like, hey, we've scaled our customer acquisition on Meta and, some of these other ad platforms, and the acquisition costs are just going up. We're not really even profitable on that first purchase anymore. We're just trying to build the list. We've done CRO, we've done email and SMS, like we've done all of sort of those best practices. What do we do now? SEO is very much the obvious answer.
Nice. Wow. Very interesting, Josh. Really interesting.
Thank you.
So how did you become an expert in this field? I mean, you are like a self-learner, you had some mentorship or good training from people. How did you become, that expert in this field?
Well, I actually started in the content marketing side of things on the B2B side, sort of B2B SaaS. I'll say in terms of mentorship, Davish and Benji at Grow and Convert. So that's an agency that I worked for a while. They're in the B2B space. They were super helpful in teaching me how to write profitable content and the strategy behind that. I wanted to work for them at one point, so I bought their course, took their course, created a free blog post for them and sent it to them and said, hey, here's a post. Can I have an interview? And so then they hired me,
Wow,
and so I worked for them. Yeah,
Like it a lot. Nice.
And so I worked for them for a couple of years. And I think that content foundation is what everything is built on, and then e-commerce came later and collections pages, but that's really been the differentiator.
Yes. So I understand in terms of the services that you provide as an agency, it's not just obviously the basics and the technical stuff of how to build pages with the right, H1, A2, meta tags, alt tags, making sure everything works, built technically correct. You also create and write the content itself, right? Doing all the research and writing the content, backlinks, anything else that I've missed?
Yeah, I'll say that the number one opportunity that most brands have is to take a content marketing approach to their site profile. So you have a collection that has all of your shoes in it. Well, maybe you should create a dedicated page for your green running shoes and a dedicated page for your red running shoes. Okay. And so there's some nuance
PDPs?
there.
You mean PDPs or
collections.
Like the blog post?
Collections specifically. Yeah. So even if you only have 2 or 3 products in that collection, sometimes that's all you need. And so there's so many different ways that people are searching for your product, like so many different angles they're taking. Are they searching for green shoes for overpronating feet? So one of the biggest things we do is we help them publish new collections and sometimes new product pages, but that's harder because of the back-end management, right? But new collections pages specifically, we do that again and again. One of the most profitable things that any e-commerce store can do, because you start to rank for more keywords with these really high converting pages and it really takes off.
Okay. And in terms of the content itself, what's the common practice? Is it just to put it as another tab, another menu in your existing e-commerce platform, or just create another domain or another presence for content?
Well, so Shopify has a blog built in. And so you can just sort of spin up their built-in platform. If you are, have a strong brand presence, obviously you're going to want to modify it a little bit out of the box, right? Or if you have strong brand guidelines, design guidelines. Yeah. Otherwise, just make sure you link to it from like your footer or somewhere in your navigation, so it's not just hidden out of view. If you're on a Magento or something like that, you're going to have to tack on a blog. I think there's a really good add-on for like $400 that you can just sort of add onto your site and then link to it from the footer and the navigation. Yeah. And then same for BigCommerce. I think they have some really good out-of-the-box functionality.
Yeah, great. Josh, anything else you want to add?
No, I think I will say one thing. I think it was Warren Buffett, and I'm paraphrasing, so this is like don't quote this exactly, but he said, when others are panicking, buy, and when others are like high on the market is when you should sell. And I think that's SEO right now. Everybody's panicking, everybody's running away. I think that right now in the next 6 months is actually the biggest opportunity to invest in SEO, because there's going to be a new paradigm for sure. But who comes out on top in the new paradigm with AI, SEO, and all that good stuff? Those winners are going to be defined today. So I actually think today is probably one of the best times that you could invest.
For sure.
It's self-serving, but I think it's true.
For sure. Yeah. Josh, any interesting fun fact you want to share with us?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this before the show. I studied abroad in Hong Kong for a semester.
Okay.
And we're going to go at one specific experience. On my way home, I did like a tour, and I went to Thailand and Cambodia.
Okay.
And so Cambodia, I was on my way home from Cambodia. I was solo. I'd left the group because I had to go back to Hong Kong myself. And there was a miscommunication. I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, I'm just going to go to the airport and spend the night, And turns out that the airport in Cambodia that I went to was not open overnight. So I ended up sleeping on a bench outside of an airport in Cambodia on my way home.
So you're still alive, so it's okay.
I'm still alive. But that was a little bit sketchy. I didn't sleep great.
It was closed when you got there, or just throw you out?
It was funny because there were people walking out the door. And so I was like, cool, this is going to be fine. But like the rest of the airport was dark. And I was like, what's going on?
Wow.
Turns out it was the last flight in, and then they shut everything down as soon as the last people got off the plane. And so I was like, well, here I am.
Nice one. All of the experience, I guess, traveling in Asia.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great, Josh. Thank you so much. It was really fun.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, Eaton. Have a great one.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. Your support means the world to us. If today's episode has been insightful for you, consider sharing it with someone who would also benefit. Even one share can make a big difference. Looking to elevate your e-commerce game? Discover Vimy, a multi-channel e-commerce platform that will transform your business with the power of shoppable video. Visit us at vimy.net to learn more. It's Vimy, VIMMI.net. Thank you for being part of our journey. Stay tuned for more invaluable insights in our next episode.